Good evening, everybody. I'm Gretchen Crosby Sims. I'm the Executive Director at the Institute of Politics. We are so pleased and honored to welcome Mr. Khizr Khan tonight to campus. His book, An American Family, a memoir of hope and sacrifice, is for sale just in the back room, and he'll be signing copies after the program. I want to mention a few upcoming events. Next Wednesday, we will be hosting a screening of Active Measures, a new documentary that is supposed to be fantastic about Vladimir Putin's covert political warfare to disrupt world events. After the screening, there will be a discussion with the filmmakers, as well as with former CIA official and presidential candidate Evan McMullin and former FBI Special Agent Asha Rangappa. Even if you can't attend the screening, we would encourage you to attend the discussion, and we will be serving free food. You can find out more about all of our upcoming events on our website at politics.uchicago.edu. A quick word about voting. There are some elections coming up in 26 days to be specific, and we all know that voting is the most fundamental responsibility and privilege of being in a democracy. This fall, a group of students have launched a nonpartisan push called UChive Votes to boost turnout on campus. So if you want to get registered, find out early voting dates, or find a nearby polling place, check out their website at uchivevotes.com. You don't have to be a student to take advantage of it. You can also vote early on campus at Reynolds Club from October 31st to November 2nd. Again, for more information, that's uchivevotes.com. We will open up the floor to take questions from the audience after our discussion. So during the conversation, if you hear anything that intrigues you, make a note and bring it to the mic with you. The microphone will be in the center aisle. As usual, we give priority to for the first three questions to students, and we remind everybody that a question ends in a question mark. Please make sure that your phones are on silent. Restrooms, if you need them, are on the first floor. And here to formally introduce our speaker is Rimsha Nazir. Rimsha is a third year from Louisville, Kentucky, studying economics and public policy. She is an events ambassador at the IOP and has completed 2 IOP summer internships, one with the Axe Files podcast and the other with the Office of Senator Tammy Duckworth. Please join me in welcoming Rimsha to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Tonight, I have the incredible opportunity of introducing Mr. Khizr Khan. Mr. Khan and I have a few similarities, one being, when asked where we're from, we both mention a place in the South. I say Kentucky, Mr. Khan says Virginia. The second similarity being, when we're asked, no, where are you really from? We both eventually say Pakistan. While I was born to Pakistani immigrants, Mr. Khan practically grew up with the country itself. He was born only 3 years after Pakistan declared independence from British-ruled India. In 1980, Mr. Khan migrated to the United States to earn his Master of Laws at Harvard University. He is licensed to practice law before the U.S. Supreme Court, as well as the courts of D.C. and New York. The national spotlight shined on him at the 2016 Democratic National Convention when he pulled his pocket constitution and asked then-candidate Donald Trump whether he had even read the document, and he'd love to give his copy to him. In less than 6 minutes, his words stitched Pakistanis and Muslims alike back into the fabric of American society in a level that hadn't been felt in over a decade. Since then, he has continually advocated on the behalf of minorities, military members, victims of hate crimes, and candidates running in the midterm elections. He even spoke outside the Supreme Court to strike down the controversial travel ban last April. It would be remiss of me not to mention his son, the late U.S. Captain Humayun Saqib Muazzam Khan, who has been adorned with the Bronze Star as well as the Purple Heart. On the behalf of the community, I'd like to take a moment and express our utmost gratitude for the service of your son. I look forward to how the discussion unfolds tonight with our esteemed guest, along with Ms. Odette Youssef of WBEZ. Ms. Youssef has contributed to NPR's Morning Edition, as well as All Things Considered, and she was on a WBEZ team that was awarded the National Edward R. Murrow Award. And with that, I'd like to offer a please warm welcome for Mr. Khizr Khan and Ms. Odette Youssef.
Thank you so much. So first of all, Mr. Khan, I want to reiterate that we here thank you and your family for the service that your son, Captain Khan, did on behalf of this country, and we honor him here. So I want to start with looking at your story as an immigrant, because I think something that I noted when I was reading your book was, frankly, how unremarkable your experience is as an immigrant. You came here with very little money in your pocket. You came to the realization that this might be a country where you could provide a better life for your children, and then you sort of quietly went about doing that. And of course, all of that changed in the summer of 2016 in those 6 minutes that you were on the stage at the Democratic National Convention. So my first question to you is, after that experience, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Little exhausted, little tired. Today is my 228th speaking engagement since then. So we had been traveling and speaking, and all is well. Concerned like anyone else about the direction of our country. And so I speak. Most of my speaking engagements are not book related, but are campaigns related. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing fine.
And your family?
Family is well. Razala is doing well. She travels sometime with me, but then she gives up because of the hassles of the airport and changing flights and running in 5 minutes to one gate to another gate, few miles away and all. So, but she's well. She spends most of her time with grandchildren. We have 4, 2 sets of twins, and so she's happy.
So welcome to Chicago. Going back to the speech, I wanted to have you share a couple of things that I had not previously been aware of in the sort of the run-up to giving that speech. One of them was that the famous moment when you pulled out your pocket constitution and waved it on the stage. That had not been a long-planned gesture. Do you actually have the pocket constitution on you now?
It's a different version. Yes, I do.
Okay.
The one that was used in 2016. Sorry for interruption.
No.
We received a call last year that Virginia Historical Society was interested in acquiring that copy. We gladly took it to them, and then we were informed that in the Virginia Historical Society's main museum in Richmond, 2nd floor, has a section called Making of Virginia. So that constitution is being placed in a showcase there, and then later on we were informed that there will be a microphone also attached to that showcase, the earphones that one can plug and press the button and could hear. So it is there, but yes, it wasn't planned.
So could you share that story of how you sort of ended up doing that?
Yeah. Since passing of Captain Humayun Khan, the last book that I sent to Humayun in Iraq when he was serving there was Senator John McCain's book, Why Courage Matters. He received it, he read it, because in a phone call I asked him, did you receive the book, did you read it? And he said, yes, I've read it. My other friends on the base are reading it, and they all have enjoyed it. So after his passing, I thought it would be a good gesture to give that book as a token, as a gift from us to commissioning cadets of Army ROTC. So each year we used to give that book as a token to each commissioning cadets whenever we would go to their commissioning ceremony. That book costed $20. So initially there were 20 cadets, 25 cadets, 22 cadets each year commissioning. And Senator McCain had been so kind to us that I would take 20 copies of his book to his office in the Senate and give him the names, the list of the names of the commissioning cadets, and he would take the trouble to prescribe and write the book, dedicate the book to each and every cadet by the name, by cadet's name and his signature and all that. And everybody cherished so very much. So that continued for a few years. In 2012, I received information from the Army Corps of Cadets that there are about 28 cadets that are commissioning. I thought, my goodness, $20 per book, 28 books, this is really getting out of hand. So I was renewing my American Bar Association license, membership renewal. On their website, I saw U.S. Constitution pocket size, 99 cents. I thought this would be a good deal and I can afford that. So I ordered. Since then, we've been ordering and we've been keeping. So that Constitution had been in my pocket for many years since then. And the reason I kept it in my pocket, that whenever there would be a conversation at home or outside or elsewhere, we would talk about Declaration of Independence. I read it in 1972 in Pakistan, first time discovering America. And all 1,238 words, 18 grievances, and number 7 has become my most favorite. And I implore you to read it whenever there is a conversation about immigrants and all of that, how our forefather wanted more immigrants because they knew immigrants bring prosperity, hard work and all. So anyway, so I used to cite that and Bill of Rights and First Amendment, and so I've been keeping in my pocket. When we received the invitation to come to convention, that the whole story is in the book in detail, how we were reluctant and why we agreed to go. So now we are in Philadelphia and getting ready. The cab has come to take us to convention. And the original line in the speech was, "You have not read the Constitution of the United States. If you read it, look for the word liberty and equal protection of law." And so we get in the cab and I say to Ghazala, because they had told us, make sure you don't have any metal pens or coins or keys in your pocket, because checking through the security is going to be a lengthy process if you have anything metal in your pocket. So I'm checking my pockets, and just as we are getting in the cab, and I noticed that there's something in my pocket, and I look at it, and it was the Constitution, the pocket-sized Constitution in my pocket. So we are now in the cab, and I tell Ghazala, I said, Ghazala, I have the U.S. Constitution in my pocket, and I am saying, have you read the Constitution of the United States? If you have not read and all this, why don't I change that and say, you have not read the Constitution of the United States, I'll offer you to read my copy and all of this. And I pull it out and I wave it. And she's always very, very wise and a balanced person. Total reflection. Captain Humayun Khan was her reflection, generous, passionate, caring. So she said, we will ask permission first once we get to the convention. Okay. I said, okay. So I am now curious. I said, if they say okay, then how would I pull it out like this and then look at it and then see, oh, this way? And so she says, why don't you practice, put it in your pocket. We are in the cab. And she said, if they give you the permission, make sure you place it the right way so when it comes out like this.
Right.
Not like
Not
this,
upside
not
down.
like this. It will defeat the whole purpose. So I am sitting in the car and I could tell the cab driver is watching us do this, watching us do this. And I am placing it and pulling it out and doing this. So that's how. So we got to the convention and we were taken to the green room. And the purpose of the green room is that ordinary persons like myself, we are not used to the noise and the lights and all of the convention of the stage. So people get confused, they lose chain of thought, they lose their composure. So in the green room, practice room, they have lots of floodlight and the noise and all so that ears and eyes could get familiar with the noise and the light. So we are brought to the podium in the green room to stand there so the lights and noise we can get familiar with. And Ghazala is standing next to me. And throughout this whole process, most people don't know this, I have been asking her to start the conversation, start the speech, meaning she will step first and she will say, thank you for inviting us, for paying tribute to our son, and my husband will speak. And then just move. And she just keeps shaking her head. She said, no, I cannot. I said, just say that. You don't have to, make it too long. Just leave. She said, you know that Humayun's picture is on the screen, and I cannot utter a word when his picture is there. And I know that she had gone through, as a mother, I cannot empathize, but I can only understand that what pain she goes through whenever her son's picture is displayed and people are paying tribute to him. So she said, no, don't insist. I said, okay, then just stand next to me. So now we are walking up to the stage, and I am worried. But before we go, so we are at the podium, and I say to the producer, there's a line of producers there, assistant producer, and there's a senior producer. I ask him, I said, in my speech, I am making reference to the Constitution. And I have a copy in my pocket. May I pull it out when I say, I'll gladly lend you my copy. And he shakes his head and he walks towards me and stands this close and says, Mr. Khan, are you sure you're going to do this? I said, yes, I will. He said, go ahead and do that. It'll be a very powerful moment. Because of his experience, he could see that. So that's how it all came about, and that's why the Ghazala's not speaking came about, because I was worried when we went to the podium and to the stage. You could see that I am keeping my hand behind her, and when she's standing, because they have also told us that make sure Mrs. Khan holds the podium with her both hands. So just in case if she begins to shake or something wrong begins to happen, she can, at least wait till this speech is complete. And so she's holding the podium with her both hands, and her face has turned red and all of this. And so that's how it came about.
Yeah. You alluded to the other thing that I had not previously known, which was that you had basically decided that you were not going to speak at the convention.
Yeah.
What was it that changed your mind?
Well, we, in 2015, December 2015, we heard that most bigoted statement by then Republican candidate, I will ban all Muslims, all Hispanics will be thrown out of this country, judges are bad, and women are of not equal dignity and all of this. So wherever I would go after that statement, among our family members in Charlottesville, our children live there, they have children, and their friends have small children, elementary school, middle school. They would bring their little kids, boys and girls, to me saying that Mr. Khan is a lawyer. Ask him that you're not going to be thrown out of here. So little kids, 4th grade, 5th grade, 3rd grade, they'll come and I'll hug them and say, what's bothering you? Well, we are afraid we may be thrown out of here and I don't want to go to school. And their parents will say, they really don't. Every morning they have a tummy ache. They don't want to go to school. And we will hearten them, but their teachers would hearten them, but they don't want to deal with the bullying in the school that is taking place. Some of them said that they have stopped eating. They don't eat well. At night they'll be sobbing and crying, and the next morning they will have tummy ache and excuses not to go to school and all of this. So they would ask me the question and I'll tell them that, no, don't worry, this is just a political statement, and here is the Constitution, let's read it. Let me read it to you. 14th Amendment, equal protection of law. Nobody can throw you out of here. You're a born citizen of this country and all of this. So, but the kids were not accepting that explanation. Their parents, a couple of days later, will call, or I'll call them. And these are several sets of parents. I'll call them and find out about the well-being of their children, and they would say, no, they're not heartened at all. We don't know what to do. And so this is taking place in our life. On the other hand, we received a call from the newspaper writer, James King, and that article is available, asking me my opinion about the statement that was made.
This is from the Vocative publication.
Exactly, exactly. So I spoke to him, and next morning he publishes the article. That article is the foundation of the Hillary Clinton's tribute to Captain Humayun Khan. They sent us the link after they prepared the tribute. First, they asked the permission if they could pay the tribute, and we said, sure, not knowing how it will be used. We received the link. We looked at the tribute. It's available on the internet even now. Hillary Clinton pays tribute to Captain Humayun Khan, 2 minutes, and most of the words used are mine. And she acknowledges that. She said his father said this. And a few weeks go by, and we received a call from the convention that we are inviting Gold Star families to the convention when we are paying tribute to other Gold Star members. Would you like to come? And something told me we have been non-political, not too active one way or the other, that this may be something that we should think. So I said, may I think for a day? They said, well, the schedule is filling up real quick and we would like you to let us know as soon as possible. I said, okay. Call us latest day after tomorrow. We hung up, and after receiving that telephone invitation, I called my other children and they said, please do not go. This is not your cup of tea. We are private people. You have maintained your professional dignity and privacy, and we are private people, and this all will be blown and it'll be all public, and we will not be able to have our peace and privacy. I said, okay. I talked to Ghazala. She said, maybe they are being too protective of parents. So let's talk to some other friends. So I called some little more politically savvy friends, and they said exactly the same thing, that we know you, how you have lived your life quietly, privately, honorably, and don't get involved in this. Any criticism that other side makes of you would be justified, because this happens in this kind of political activity. So now it's me and Ghazala sitting there. This is second day, hoping that what should we do? So finally we decided that we'll just call and apologize that we will not go. As we are talking in the room, she looks outside the window, and the mail truck, we live on a slope of the mountain, and we can see the street. On the street, the mail truck goes by. She said, oh, the mail has come. So I said, let me go before we call them, check the mail. So I go down to the mailbox and pick up the mail. As I pick up the mail, at the bottom of the mail is a small card. And no stamp, just our name and no address. Somebody must have come to place it there. And so out of curiosity, standing next to the mailbox, I open it. And it's a small card. Name, 5th grade, fourth grade, and name. And in the middle is the sentence that sent us. And it says, Mr. Khan, would you please make sure that Maria is not thrown out of this country? We love her. She's our friend and she's a good student. I read it. They had put their name, their grade, and they had put that sentence, these 4 kids. I'm sure their teacher or somebody must have come to place it in our mailbox. I read it again, and I walked quickly without inserting it back in the envelope, just holding it like this with the other mail. Come to Ghazala, she's still sitting there in the living room, and I show it to her. I said, here is message for us. She looks at it, she reads it, and then she looks. I'm still standing and she's sitting on the sofa. She looks at me. I was thinking and hoping, knowing the kind of balanced person she is, she doesn't get too riled up in emotions and all of this, that she's still going to say, just call them and tell them we are not coming, we will not be part of this. And she looks at me. Such moments are so powerful moments that even today when I think of that moment or reading of the letter or meeting those kids, I begin to lose my composure. She says to me, she said, call them now. I said, okay, she's probably wanting me to call them and tell them we are not coming. I said, tell them we are coming. We will go and we will speak on behalf of these kids. I said, okay. I immediately called and told them we are coming, and we went. So it was that. And then there is a whole lot of details in the book as well. So I sat down and I began to write my speech. I told her, I said, okay, now that we have decided we are going, I'm going to write my speech, because I was thinking of those kids, their sentiments, their worries, they're American, they're born here. How dare somebody threatens their well-being and puts them through this pain and suffering. So I began to write in 1 page, 2 page, 3 page. By the evening, by bedtime, I had written about 18 pages. So when I accepted the invitation, they said, you have 2 minutes, say whatever you want to say. I said, okay. So I began to write in 18 pages. Next morning, Ghazala is having her coffee, breakfast table, and I come down and I said, well, my speech is ready. And she said, 2 minutes? I said, yes, 2 minutes. So let's get the clock. And she puts the kitchen clock, she puts it to 2 minutes. She puts it there and she said, okay, let's go. And I begin to read it and read it and read it. And on the 3rd page, there's a bell. She said, 2 minutes are over. I said, I got 15 more pages to go. So I got annoyed. I said, 2 minutes, going all the way to convention, putting up with all of this, and they have given us only 2 minutes. Let me call them, find out. So I called the person, the contact. They said, 260 words, 2 minutes only. I said, okay. So I give her those 18 pages and my pen. I said, you're the one that said, let's go, and now they're not giving us the time. So you make it 2 minutes. So she does this. The very first long paragraph, she does this with her pen. And I said, wait a minute, this is my funniest paragraph, and you're removing this? She says, no, our son's picture will be there. I don't want you to say this. And this is what that first paragraph was, that she, with her blessed hand, she took it out. This is what I had started. These are my words. I have not plagiarized from Mrs. Obama's speech. She took it off. She said, no, you will not say this at all. I said, okay. So then we shrank it and we made it small and all of this, and 260 words.
Yeah. So, you've spoken just now of wanting to speak on behalf of these children, right, that were scared that their classmate might be deported. So we are now in we are now into the Trump presidency. And there have been changes to immigration. Perhaps not through Congress, but through administrative authority. They have been able to restrict the number of refugees coming to this country. They've been able to put limits on people seeking visas to come here from mostly Muslim countries. We've seen that they're now proposing to widen the public charge test. All of these things that people feared at that time seem to be in the works. How are you, what sense are you making of this time that we're in?
Well, first, this is an anomaly. This is not America at its best. I am the only Muslim American that was party in Trump versus Hawaii versus Trump lawsuit in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, I filed a brief, amicus brief, in Supreme Court. There are scores of other entities and our national security leaders that also filed in against the Muslim ban of this government, this administration. And on the day of the oral argument, I was there. We spoke, and I spoke to the media as well. And then on the day of the decision, which was against me and against my request and against my appeal, I still was heartened. And you will say, wait a minute, it was decided against you. I was heartened for one reason, and I want all of us to pause for a second and cool-headedly think. This ordinary citizen of the United States was able to take the president and his administration to the Supreme Court. Rule of law prevailed. We did not win, but rule of law prevailed, that we knocked at the door of the Supreme Court and Supreme Court heard us. They did not agree with us, but they heard us. Rule of law prevailed. We are not in favor of what is taking place. We are totally against. The reason for that is not the America that I came to, or that is not the America that this is a affront to the America's generosity and America's compassion. America had been beacon of hope for the rest of the world because of these values of allowing those who are wishing to come and contribute to this country and wishing to avoid the perils in their own communities, in their own countries. This family separation, there is a general impression in the public that the administration has tried to give, that these families were illegally at the border. They were trying to illegally cross the border. That is totally untrue. That is incorrect. United States is part of the convention with the rest of the world, where if a person or persons or families, if you're being persecuted, if you have fear for your life, for your safety, for your well-being, you can appear at the border of United States and you could apply for asylum. So first, all of the asylum seekers were at the border legally. They were exercising their legal right. That's one. Second, once you have been granted the hearing, then it's up to the government whether one makes the legitimate case or not, whether a case is genuine or not. That's a decision that the government has the authority to take. That's fine. Some are accepted, some are declined, but for this administration to say that these are illegally trying to enter illegally, not at all. They're all there legally. I am hopeful, and that is part of the struggle that I have put myself into, is that we are going to do our best as ordinary citizens to make sure that these un-American policies about immigrants and maligning immigrants, not acknowledging their contribution. So you will say, well, we are a country of law. You mean everyone can come, everybody can come? Not at all. We are a country of laws and we must enforce them, but we enforce them humanely. Those small children that were born here, their parents are well-to-do here. Both are, in some cases, because I know them, they're very productive citizens of the country. In some cases, both are physicians. Mother is a physician and father is a physician. And their children are saying, we don't want to go to school because we are going to be thrown out of here. So there has to be some common sense in the enforcement of our laws. We are hopeful that soon the country will take the turn towards common sense.
So I have to ask, so it's clear you still have faith in the rule of law and that will prevail. Do you still have faith in the American people? And I guess the reason I ask this is that, some of the uglier moments we've seen recently have hit literally quite close to your home, Charlottesville, Virginia, where we had this white nationalist protest. First of all, where were you when that happened? And given that happened, do you have faith in the American people as well as the rule of law?
Yes, I have amazing faith, and my faith was being reaffirmed on 11th of August 2017 at 4:00 p.m. when I was watching with my own eyes and hearing with my own ear those ugly, divisive, hateful slogans and those gun-carrying thugs that have come from somewhere and attacked our peaceful community in Charlottesville. I had ordered some books and we were told not to go out. There's lots of noise on the street. I thought I'll do the smart thing. I'll go through the medical center and go to the bookstore and bring my books and come back home. As I got close to the bookstore, close to the university main grounds, I heard the noise and the traffic was totally blocked, so I couldn't turn around. I saw people standing outside their cars and looking towards where the noise was coming from. I did the same thing. And then when I heard the noise and when the front of the procession came in front of me, I got scared and I sat down in my car. I lowered the shade and slumped in my seat so I won't be recognized. And that procession was passing a few cars ahead of me on the street, on the grounds of the University of Virginia, where my sons have gone to school and had learned how to serve United States and how to be decent human beings. That sacred ground was attacked. And the slogans that I heard, I remember very clearly. This is what I was thinking at that moment when I was listening to those slogans, those signs, and those gun-carrying individuals. We had buried this hate We had buried these slogans in Europe in Second World War. Thousands of American men and women have sacrificed their life to defeat the Nazis in Germany, in Europe. How dare they have come and they have found their way in America. And most people don't know what happened on Wednesday. On Wednesday, there was an email that went through the city privately that let's have a procession with our children. On Wednesday evening, real America came on the streets. Children, small kids, big kids, families, candles in their hands, singing songs, walking on the streets. Same street where 2 days ago there was display of hate and division, so that our children could see and feel and realize this is real America, not that. And look, most people don't know this about Wednesday, what took place in Charlottesville. Then what happens? And I urge most of your audience to look for the consent order that those who came to attack agreed to, because Charlottesville, city of Charlottesville and other communities filed a lawsuit against that display of hate and division. And they, a few months ago, they agreed to this consent order in which they say that they will never display weapon in Charlottesville. They will never display hatred in Charlottesville. And they promise to work with the authorities wherever these groups will go to show the weapon or hatred. They will work to discourage them. This is what happens when true America stands up, when true America and true rule of law. Most people don't know of that decree. It is available. It's public document. And they have signed it. They have agreed to it, that they will work with other communities wherever this hatred and this display of violence is displayed. They will, these groups that are there, and there are scores of them, these neo-Nazi groups, they all will help the community to disarm and to discourage the display of hate. That is real America. And that is what I'm observing throughout the nation, throughout the country, traveling Nebraska to Portland, in Portland, Oregon. I was there and 2 Muslim women came to me and they said, Mr. Khan, we want to share a story with you. We were with our small kids at the bus stop and ready to board them on the school bus. And a gentleman from across the road, a Caucasian gentleman, came towards us, and we begin to shake, we begin to tremble that something ugly is about to happen. And as he got close, he raised his finger towards them, said, "Sisters, I am with you. Be strong. I stand with you." And he just kept walking. And he said, we were in awe. This is true America. This is real America. So that display of hatred and this display of violence, that is a moment that we all look back and we will be ashamed as. And I talk about the Muslim ban decision in the same category as there had been 3 decisions so far in the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court and the nation is embarrassed to have. One was in 1850, Dred Scott decision, where person of color, by the Supreme Court, declared that person of color can be a property. Second decision was Korematsu decision, where Japanese Americans were considered enemy of the state and their internment was justified. And the third decision is Muslim ban decision. It will have the same fate as both those 2 other decisions have had so far. So rule of law prevails in America. In the DNA of America, there is compassion. There is dignity for other human beings. There is compassion for others. quickly at the end, I know the clock is running out. My America. We had just come to United States. I brought the kids, and the story is very long, but I'll tell you the shortened version of it. Few minutes after we brought kids and we hauled their suitcases into the $200 monthly apartment that I had rented in Houston, there was a knock at the door, and I said, who it could be? We don't know anybody here. I opened the door, and there was an elderly lady with 2 sacks of groceries in her hand, standing outside the door. And I said, may I help you? She said, oh, I'm your neighbor. I brought these. I saw you have kids. I brought these for them. May I? So I received it from her, thanked her, and I placed it on the table. And I looked inside. There was a bread, some cookies, some milk, juice, water. And I told Ghazala, I said, look, our neighbor has brought this. And she said, we want to raise our children here. She did not ask Paulette, our neighbors. We had not known her yet. She did not ask what country you came from. Are you legal or illegal? She did not ask what faith you are, what language you speak. You look different from us. Not at all. It was pure, genuine compassion of America. That is what America is. That is what majority of America is. That display of hate and violence, that is not America at all. I have shook hand with America throughout the country. It's compassionate, decent country, decent human being. It must prevail. It will prevail. Wait. I wish we had this conversation after the 6th of November. I assure you that things will be different. Things will be different.
So we have time for questions from the audience. And just a reminder, the first 3 questions should be from students. And you can come to this microphone right here in the center aisle.
Hi there. There we go. Hi there, Mr. Khan. It's an honor to share space with you here. I wanted to ask you, throughout your speech today and throughout your activism so far, you seem to have so much faith in the American system and the rule of law and the Constitution and the American people. And I have a lot of respect for that, and I really appreciate that. I'm a Canadian. I'll preface that by saying that I'm a Canadian, and it's good to see that there are still Americans that believe in that America will prevail, that good America will prevail. But there is a lot of news and a lot of media and a lot of editorials and articles written that America will never be the same after Trump, and that Trump has broken America in some ways that will never be fixed. And I wanted to ask if you could speak to that and say that if there are elements, in your opinion, that will never be fixed, or if the good America will prevail in its entirety. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking, and welcome to Chicago, and welcome to America. I share my hope with this. Canada and United States, what I am, when I say Constitution, United States and America and all this, to some extent what I'm talking about is the values that Canada and America practices and is in the DNA of both of these countries and both of these nations. And some European countries as well, which the values that uplift human being to a dignified level. Ups and downs, yes, there had been before as well, where there was concern that the union may not exist, but it survived, it existed, and it flourished. And such is my hope. that we will make it whole, we will make it even better. It may take a while, it may take a few presidencies and few changes in the Congress or few Congresses for that repair and for that. The reason is that at the foundation of both of the nations, be it Canada or be it United States, there is a basic uplifting of human beings, and the world is really, the mankind is becoming one community. We are so interconnected, we are so interdependent that without working together, without coming together, I may be too optimistic, but I have seen, and I have read, I have not endured, but I have seen that my blessed country had gone through worst in the past, and we have survived. And I'll quickly, because of the time constraint, McCarthy era. Everyone that disagreed with the government, with that small group, I was able to see the polls of that time, that how many people were supporting McCarthy? Exactly 30% of this nation. We survived. And immediately after McCarthy era came the era of civil rights. We thrived. We uplifted human beings. And that is, I just have a bad habit of being able to feel that the sun is rising on the other side of the mountain. And it is, and it is. Wait till 6th of November.
Hello, Mr. Khan. My name is Jandrik. So my question, kind of going along the same lines as the previous one, a little bit more specific though. So going into your past, it is my understanding that in the 1980s, you were an avid supporter of Ronald Reagan. So I want to know, what was your appeal? What was the appeal to you back then? And what is your opinion of the direction of the Republican Party today with regard to the social fabric of this country?
Well, I was not able to vote then. Reagan was leaving and he was preparing, there was an announcement on television that this would be his farewell address. And I was off. I used to work during the day and then some evenings as well at a second job. But that evening I was free, so I sat down in front of television and I heard his entire speech. And I would like sometime folks that are that see this adrift Republican Party of today, I want them to listen to Reagan's farewell speech where he says that this, I had not spoken before, but I envision America to be the shining city on top of the hill, and around that city are walls. But those walls have doors. And through those doors, anyone who has the courage and the strength can come in. And it was that description of America that had still, even today, had kept me a fan of Reagan. But I have never voted Republican. I totally disagreed with them because of their policies and their hypocrisy and their support of this un-Republican agenda and policy of this administration, but they have become the enabler of whatever is taking place, and this will have consequence. And but Republicans had been totally contrary to. I used to hear that their party of the family and the rule of law and all of this, and that's all out the window now. It's Donald Trump and his support, and so this is only momentary. This is only temporary, and Republican Party has to reinvent itself. America has gotten to know them real well, and that is not America that I know.
Hi, my name is Matthias. I'm a master's student here at UChicago. I found your talk very moving. It was very moving to hear you speak of these children and of real America in a way. I do have a question with that, though, because there is a real America that also voted for Donald Trump, right? So it's not only half of America. And while you can't say that half of America or 30 or 40% of America is white nationalist, there is something that he's tapping into, right? It's either ignoring some of the rhetoric that's being said, or there's something underneath that, people get onto. And my question to you is, what do you think he's tapping into? And like when you talked about Germany had a ridiculous unemployment and a terrible situation where people have fear. Here, there's almost complete employment, right? So what is it that, and is there anything about what he's tapping into that we can deal with, right? Is there anything that we can talk about in that sense?
Well, thank you for a wonderful question. Remember, disintegrated. America played a major role in its disintegration. It has become Russia now and other states, independent states, in turmoil, some of them. The conversation will be too long. They have not forgotten, they have not forgiven, they have not forgotten the role that America played in the disintegration of Soviet Union. They will do anything and everything to cause turmoil in America. When people say this and they wonder why President of United States has not said a word of criticism about Putin, the reason is that he is Putin's puppet. Every investment that Trump has laundered money, Soviet laundered money. It's a public fact now. There are books and there are reports, there are investigation reports that every property, every investment that Trump has Russian laundered money investment in that property. How could he speak against his financiers? His son has admitted on television that we don't go to American banks, we go to there are plenty of foreign investors in our properties. That is where his wealth comes from, so why would he speak? So you would say, well, how does that answer what has he tapped into? This is what he has tapped into: disinformation, misinformation. I have lived under two martial laws. The very first thing these dictators do is they malign the media. Newspapers are bad. These are enemy of the people. Lock them up. Turn their presses off. Nobody can speak unless I allow them to speak. That is a very common process, a very common technique that these authoritarians and dictators use. And many countries have used this and are using it even today. And judges are bad. I will appoint all my judges. I am the only one who can select the right judges. So these are the few hints that tell you that this last election in 2000 election, because of our own mistake, that we were sleeping. We were not participating fully in our elections, in our electoral process, in our democratic process. They saw the weakness in American system, in American society, and they attacked with disinformation, with misinformation. If the same election is held today, you will see a different result because America has woken up to this attack. Our national security advisors, those who have spent all of their life in serving this nation in the national security sphere, they all have said that we were attacked. We are still under attack by Russia, by the forces that don't wish us well. The only way we can deal with it is by participation. Every year we must participate. We elect the better leader, the good leaders. We did that last year in 2017, November, in Virginia. After the attack, we all woke up and we decided that we are going to vote. On 7th of November in 2017, I went to vote early morning. Amazing, longest line, most of them were women. They had their overcoat and umbrella in their hand and sneakers and all, meaning that, and a bottle of water. Most of the people standing in line had brought their water with them. The reason was that they came prepared to vote. They knew that there will be longer lines, and we voted the right leadership in Virginia. And so there are challenges. Our enemy has attacked us. I am borrowing this word attack from the national security leaders that have used this word. We have been attacked. Our democracy had been attacked. And the beneficiary of that attack is sitting in the White House. But nation has awakened now. Nation has realized that this cannot do, and it will change.
Hi, Mr. Khan. My name is Narjis Fatima Karani, and I'm here from Canada with the Ryerson University as well as the Canadian Muslim Vote. And as someone who has the same origin as yourself, when I look at American media and I talk, and I listen to people talking about minorities, I always hear African Americans, Latinos, the LGBT community, and sometimes, maybe sometimes at the very end, you'll hear Muslims, but a lot of times they're not categorized as a minority, which is unfortunate because they were attacked by Trump in the same way as the rest of the minorities were. So my question to you is, A, should we now define the classification of minorities when we're speaking in media terms? And what do you believe the Muslim community's role is within the midterm election?
Well, thank you for the wonderful question. When I, last election, we campaigned in Virginia, fundraising, community events, and going city to city, and Muslim community also gathered itself and began to participate. And it was recognized today. As soon as the Governor Northam took the office, the very first thing he did was appointed the Secretary of Education, Atif Kearney, a Muslim, a veteran of the United States Army, serves as the Secretary of Education of Virginia, and many other high-ranking officials. They were not only selected just because they are Muslims, they were selected because they have served the community, they have performed the public service, and they are the distinguished citizens. Muslims, briefly, we need to participate fully, we need to engage, we need to serve, and this nation appreciates the public service like no one. This nation appreciates the public service. We should prepare ourselves. I am so heartened to see, if you came to Washington and if you went to Congress and if you went to other political organizations in the city, amazing cadre of your peers serving in those organizations and in those agencies and in the Congress. So there is amazing hopefulness, awakening that we must fully participate. Rights are not given. Rights are claimed. Rights are earned. Rights are not given. So any place you wish to be acknowledged, you wish to be acknowledged and have your seat on the table, we must earn it, and we must work hard to make sure that our country is stronger and we fully participate in it. That's how I am so hopeful. The reason I came to this event and to Institute of Politics was one main reason, and that is that I will be standing and I'll be speaking in front of the custodians of the Constitution, the custodians of the democracy. And wherever I have traveled, I've always sought to speak to our youth, to our future generation, to our future leadership, and the impression I get from the conversation, from the constitutions, from the conversation and the questions is this, that we are ready to be the custodians of our values, of the dignities that are enshrined in our document, be it Canada, be it United States. We are ready to be custodian of those values. And it is very heartening. It is very, very heartening.
I'm sorry, what would you say to the fact that media doesn't include Muslims within minorities when describing?
Well, I don't have quick answer for that. If you participate, if you remain engaged, for example, there are 2 Muslim women coming to Congress in next session, and they're being acknowledged, they're being talked about. So we need to continue to participate and rise and shine and be part of the community and be part of the community's well-being, be part of in the political process and all. And we will be acknowledged, and we will be. Long time ago, I'll answer quickly just one comment for you to think about this. In Chicago, there used to be signs on the streets, "Irish need not apply." Look, where is Irish community? Our Catholic brothers and sisters were considered, these are agents of the Pope. They have come to take over America. Don't include them, throw them out of here. That is the treatment they have gone through. Same thing, Jewish brothers and sisters. Today we see them successful. We don't think how they have gotten where they have gotten. There was a ship named St. Louis after the Second World War. 1,000 Jewish men, women, and children on that ship. New York sent it back that we will not allow them to come to the United States. Most of them perished. So communities have, same thing with Japanese American. They were enemy of the state. Same thing with the Chinese American. 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act was passed. Throw these Chinese out. They only came to build our road and railroad. Now we are done. Throw them out of here. So communities have gone through those difficulties, that process. It's us Muslims going through this, and we will rise and shine, and we will shine like other communities have done, because in the DNA of this nation is fairness, compassion, dignity, equality. As I said, I can see the sun rising on the other side of the mountain.
Can we take
Thank
one
you.
more? Thank you. Can we take one more question, and then we're out of time?
Okay. Sorry, it's very low. Well, I wanted to thank you for speaking with us today. My name's Daniel. I'm another Canadian. I'm a politics student with Ryerson University. And my question for you is, I really do admire your respect for the Constitution. I too hold in such high esteem as I do our Constitution in Canada. I wanted to ask if you had the opportunity to add or change anything to the Constitution, would you? And if so, how?
One amendment. 27th Amendment would say, every American must read the Constitution of the United States. And then, in addition to not only read the Constitution of the United States, but must read the oath of citizenship that I took. The oath of citizenship that I took. Every citizen, every United States citizen must read that oath and take that oath and declare that I will faithfully abide by the Constitution of the United States. I will protect it and I'll defend it, unlike the one that sits in the White House today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Khan, and thank you everyone for coming. He will be signing books now. So
All
thank
right,
you very
very
much.
good.